trying to get your own business up and running is a little challenging, especially when, you know, you're starting out. You just don't know for sure what all you're supposed to do, and we didn't have a lot of family support or anything like that to hold us up, so we were pretty much on our own. But then I married that little gal down there, and then I had to really work hard because she likes to eat. So anyway, we figured it out, and over the years we've learned how to make a decent income. So this morning we want to maybe just share a few ideas that'll kind of get you thinking, get you motivated again about why you're doing what you do. You know, a small business owner is, that's the majority of the businesses that are started in this country. And, you know, so one of the things we're going to hit on a few times is we don't want to be looking around too much at what other people are doing. And certainly, you know, while TV's entertaining to some extent, in the real world, there's usually a big gap between Hollywood and Main Street. So, you know, it takes a lot of guts to start your own business. So let's don't forget that. It took a lot of guts, and it took a lot of courage. And so don't doubt what you did. If you're still here and you're still doing it, it's going to be fun. Okay, so anyway, increasing your sales with begins with providing a good quality product. I think everybody here would say they have a nice product. They like presenting it to the public. But it's a lot more than just your product. And this is where I think a lot of small business owners struggle in bridging that gap. Maybe you're kind of the technical type or you know, the whatever, you know, where you can design things. But at the end of the day, it's about people and persistence and productivity. That's what keeps us in business every day. And interacting with people is a bit of a challenge, okay? Because everybody's a little different. You know, people that come in all shapes and sizes, personality-wise is what I'm getting at, you know, and they have all kinds of preconceived ideas. They had experiences, some good, some bad. So when you're dealing with people, that's where complexity comes in, and you want to learn how to work with people. That's what makes your business go. You know, we sell insurance. Okay, so you guys are selling graphic printing, and I'm sorry, I forgot to ask you what yours. Bank 21, I'm sorry, okay. So banking, obviously, dealing with people every day, and we are too. And sometimes, you know, you can connect with people and sometimes you can't, so there's a little bit of a decision-making process that has to go on. Can I work with this person or not? And if you can't, you have to move on. And the quicker the better sometimes. But by and large, we want to be open and friendly and try to make that connection with people. And then the next thing, persistence. You know, I think about the early days and how we just, you know, from feast to famine, from month to month and so forth. And, you know, but yet there's something that kept us going. We kept wanting to do what we were doing. And I don't know that I understood it all back then, but there was something in my heart that I wanted to pursue having my own business, meeting the people, providing solutions for them, answering their questions, giving them peace of mind. I always wanted to be, you know, one of the things back in the day was I always wanted to make sure I got people called back the same day if they had a question about something, because I remember that was kind of an issue back in 1980. It seemed like, you know, when you were trying to get things done with other companies, you know, sometimes they might even forget to call you back. So we always try to pride ourselves in that. But persistence is also about just keep trying. Sometimes, you know, when times get tough, you don't want to just give up just because times are tough. I mean, there are always going to be tough times. And, you know, there's people like, you know, that work at big corporations, and a lot of those people have been laid off. One of my clients is a manager at Sprint Corporation over in Overland Park. They're going through another round of layoffs again. So he's having to lay off a couple of people. They've gone through that several times over the years, haven't they? So, but you know what he tells me? He says, I just come to work every day. I just do the best I can. I don't worry about it. I'm here to work. I'm not here to worry about the future. And boy, that's what we're saying again, isn't it? We're not here to worry about what's on the news tonight. We're here to get a job done. There's people that need printing. There's people that need bank services. There's people that need insurance and financial planning. So I want to be very persistent to keep doing that. And then the last thing is productivity. That's another kind of a main area. What are we doing to keep ourselves productive? You know, and one of the things we do in our industry is, you know, we're always going to schools for this or that. So there's always training schools and seminars, workshops, stuff like that. And, you know, it seems like you can drift away from that if you're not careful. I remember, you know, in the 80s, it seems like when we go to a workshop, these rooms would be full. I mean, absolutely full, and bigger than this. And everybody would come. Everybody was eager to learn. And I think this kind of goes back to that persistence thing. Sometimes if we get to listening to the news too much, or we look at the world and we see all the trouble going on in the world, with that, if you're not real careful, that's pretty soon you're thinking about that instead of how I'm going to be productive today. Am I going to make the phone calls I need to make? Am I going to go see the people I need to see? Am I going to take people to lunch? You know, doing those basic things. But you know what? It's easy to get off the basics. How many times we hear the sports players, they're all the time, they're saying, man, I just need to go back and work on my basics, my fundamentals. You know, and I remember hearing that over the years, and I thought, why do they keep saying they got to work on the fundamentals? These guys they're the best in the country. Of all the athletic people in the country, these people do it all the time, and yet they keep saying they got to go back and do the basics. I remember George Brett always saying that, stuff like that. And, you know, so why is that? Because productivity is easily lost. If we lose focus of the people, we lose focus on our persistency, how we're going to stay in touch with those people, next thing you know, our productivity is sliding. So today we're going to talk about all these things in a little bit more detail as we go along. And then we'll have a question and answer here in a few minutes. Okay, so people. We interact with people every day, hopefully. Every day I want to be talking to somebody about insurance and financial services. Every single day. If I'm stuck at my desk or I'm working on the telephone all day long, that's not a good day for me. I like being out with people. I like interacting with people because the more I interact with people, the more energy I get. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but just being around people helps you a lot. You know, you start hearing some of the things, maybe they've had a victory or maybe they've had a struggle, and then all of a sudden you realize, hey, I don't have it so bad. So interact with people. You'll be surprised at how much joy and happiness it is. You know, and a lot of times, like the smiling people here in the picture, most of them just want the same thing you want. What do they want? They want financial security. They want peace of mind. They want productivity. They want to be successful in whatever they're doing. So they're a lot like you and I. That's the things we want. So enjoy being around people. The more you get to know them, 9 times out of 10, they're going to have some funny story to share or some exciting thing has happened in their life. You know, everything from A to Z. One of my clients one time won the lottery. Her name was Molly. She was the sweetest lady. But unfortunately, everybody came out of the woodwork when she won that lottery. I mean, boyfriends, which she didn't have at the time, and family, and this and that and the other thing. And I remember telling Molly, forget you even won that thing. Just put it away for a while. She did some of it, but not the most of it. So, but I really enjoyed Molly. You know what? So every day you're going to meet people that come into something. And, you know, I've got other people who started their businesses, they're growing, they're successful, they enjoy what they're doing. And so it's just fun to be there. And then other times, they're struggling. And then it's my turn to, you know, help hold them up. People get down in the dumps. So, you know, even Moses got tired. Remember, Aaron had to hold his arms up? It's hard work. It's hard work being in business. It's hard work working for somebody else, too. So see the people, and that's what happens. When you see the people, energy begins to happen, excitement begins to happen. You realize, okay, hey, there's some things I can do for this person. Okay, so encouragement. That's the next thing we want to talk about a little bit here. When possible, include yourself with people who will be an assist to you and your family, an asset, excuse me, encouraging people. So, you know, working with the right people, okay? So this is a big one. Especially for self-employed, but even for bank tellers or whoever, whatever you're doing at the bank. You know, some people, they bring energy, and some people take energy. So you have to decide how much of each you want to work with every day. Hopefully we can meet the people who can give a little energy while we're working with them. Happy begets happy, okay? So being around happy people is what I like. And, you know, we're all, you know, it's kind of common sense, but it's worth thinking about. I had a lady recently I agreed to meet with her. I knew it was probably not going to go anywhere, and it did not go anywhere. But she had a nice smile. She was a friendly person, and I appreciated that. And that was my payment for the day. And I know she's struggling. She's trying to make her business go, and so it's going to be an uphill battle for her. And something might happen down the road, but that's as far as I go with that commitment. That was as far as I could go because there was nothing there to work with. But I did get something out of it because she had that nice smile. She had a nice personality. She was eager. She still had a lot of faith in her business. And you know what? It made me think about the faith I had in my business. So I still got paid that day. Even when we are having a bad day, we have to try to make it a great day. You ever had that? You ever had a bad day and then all of a sudden you had to, you still have to see some people? You still have to be on the phone? You hang up one phone call and you've got 5 or 6 more to make, and what are you going to do? Are you going to drag that old conversation to the next one? Nope. That one's in the file. That one's done. So your attitude, happy begets happy, but even when you're having a bad day, you're going to have to come back and get happy again. You're going to have to find a way to work with people, even when you're having a bad day. And we're all going to have a bad day, right? If you haven't had one yet, it's coming. So people want to be around people that offer hope and encouragement. So who wants to be around a downer? Okay? Now this kind of goes back to the news again, because boy, how much do they ever talk about good news on the news? Do they ever talk about how somebody in Blue Springs today got their business up and running, or made the most income they've ever made in their business career? Is there any news like that out there? I don't know, except maybe in the chamber here we get to hear a little good news. We had just had the Business of the Year? Yeah. So, man, that is great. Maybe we should be doing more of that. We want to celebrate success because success breeds success. Happiness tends to lead to other people's happiness as well. So people want to be encouraged. Are we encouraging people? That's something we can write down. I hope you're thinking about this. You got a handout, jot a note down. That's something we can do today. Before this day is over, call somebody and encourage them. Call a client and say, man, I just want to say thank you for your business. Thank you for your trust and confidence in me. And if there's anything I can do, let me know. And hey, by the way, do you have time for a lunch next week? You know what? How many people take you to lunch or to Starbucks? Okay? Just a little act of kindness like that can mean a whole lot to some of your clients. Okay, the next thing, simple or complicated? Which one's better? Well, you kind of need both, don't we? We tend to want to complicate things. Okay, now in financial planning, it can get complicated pretty quick. And yet, I'm kind of the bent. I always try to make things simple. I always want to get it simple. We have a process now that we've developed over the years where we try to get everything, a financial picture, all on one page. Have you ever got one of these financial plans where they're like 30 or 40 pages long and they're in a little binder? You know where those come from? We found this out 30, 40 years ago. I started in 1980, however long that's been. Those are all boilerplate. Those are pre-printed. They just drop in a few of your numbers on a few different pages, and it's all done by a computer. There's nothing sophisticated about it whatsoever. There's nothing personal about it. Most of the time, they're never read. People might look at the first page or a pretty graph or something like that. But really, what you want is simple answers. You want simple solutions on how to solve financial problems. Maybe that's what people want with printing or at the bank and so forth. So keeping it simple is 9 times out of 10 the best way to go. And then selling involves people, so which can get complicated again, okay? But whenever possible, we want to keep it simple. Because why do people make it complicated? Because they've got, again, those preconceived issues they're dealing with. Maybe they had, that bad experience with someone. Maybe Uncle Joe still has a lot of influence on them, their mom or dad. And so they have to pre-filter things through, decisions through other people. Oh, that can be nerve-wracking, can't it? I want to think about it. Instead of making that decision, sometimes they want to think about it, or they got to call somebody to get a second opinion. That's always difficult. So, but the simpler we can keep it, the better. And sometimes if we keep it simple enough, they can make their own decisions. In fact, that might be a turning point in their life. So keep it simple. Discover the problem, and so don't assume you know what the problem is until you ask them what they feel their problems are. This is something I had to learn a lot in starting out, because I thought I had the right answer. I thought as soon as I heard what you were saying you were dealing with, I would feel like, oh, I know how to fix that. Maybe that's a guy thing. I know how to fix that. But, you know, they're just staring at me, okay? Deer in the headlight look. So until they know what their problem is, the solution is too much. Did you get that? They have to know what their problem is. They have to own that problem. They have to feel the problem. They have to feel the pressure. In our business, I kind of call it blowing up the island. Because a lot of times people think, well, I'm financially happy, I'm financially secure, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, quote, quote. And so they're like the person on the island. They're over in Hawaii, they're relaxing on the beach, everything's cool. What could go wrong? So then we start talking about things that could go wrong. And it's not, you know, rare. It happens a lot. What could go wrong in a financial plan? Well, the stock market could crash, or, you know, you could get laid off from your job, or you could wake up one day like Ruthie did with MS. Just right out of the blue, didn't even give us a warning. We just, bing, there it is. Then you have to deal with that. So lots of things can happen on the island that most people aren't aware of, because what are they looking at? They're looking at the beach. They got their little refreshment next to them. They're watching the beautiful scenery. The dolphins are jumping up out of the water, or was it whales? You know. So when you're in Hawaii, you hardly think of anything that could go wrong until the mountain blows up, you know, and the volcano and stuff like that. So we want to keep it simple, but we want to help them understand sometimes what the problems are with their plan. So that kind of gets off into what I do. But you know, again, the basic is just before we present a solution, I want a client to understand what could happen. Lots of things can happen, and what do I know about printing, for example? So if I try to do a particular project, you're probably going to counsel me on, you know, this would look good or this wouldn't look good. This might work a little nicer. This would be less what you want. So, you know, those are things that we do, all of us do in our businesses. Okay, and people need that. They need that information. Okay, what you know is important. That's why you're in business. Okay. Sometimes we don't know what's going on, as this last point here, in a prospect's world. So, again, they might not want to fix their problem. Do you ever come across that? Sometimes they don't want to fix a problem. So all the solutions in the world aren't going to help them. So again, you got to have to measure those people. When you're dealing with people, it can get complicated. So sometimes these issues aren't presented right up front. It'd be nice if people were more forthcoming sometimes, so you kind of know exactly what it is they want to accomplish. So what we do is we try to ask enough questions that we can kind of bring that out of them. You know, they're busy. They've had, you know, their struggles for the day or the week or the year, you know, their family, their job, their financial issues going on. So sometimes it's a little difficult to pull all that out of them. But, you know, in the process of learning how to do what you do, you ask the right questions, and pretty soon, most of the time, you're going to get a much clearer picture of what the problem is. And once they can see the problem, then you've got a great opportunity to be a solution for them. So doing all that requires being sensitive. Now, Ruthie is very sensitive. Now, me, on the other hand, I want to get the job done. I want to solve the problem. So that's why God put her in my life. So I can learn to be very, very sensitive to what people want. Sometimes once this comes out, this being sensitive, and I really listen closely, then there's almost always something that's going to unlock that whole issue for that person, and then you can solve it. And that's when it's great. Okay, so the key to growing any business then is to build some trust. That's the next thing. So, boy, this is a big one today, isn't it? Build trust by bringing value to your clients and customers through work you do with them. Go beyond the initial sale. So, you know, now here again, let me just use myself. When I come into a person's home or business, I'm thinking, well, sure they know I'm an honest person. I'm going to do my very, very best to solve their problems. But, oops, did I hit that the wrong way? they don't know you from Adam a lot of times. They just know me because so-and-so referred me to them, which, by the way, referrals are the very best clientele you can get because usually the door is open and there is a level of trust there. But if it's just a cold sale, and maybe that's more like a retail sale at the bank, maybe perhaps, where you don't really know the people a whole lot, building that trust is a challenge. But once people begin to trust you, boy, you can just see it unfolding. And we have a new client that we met at the YMCA recently, which is another one for us at the Y. And they heard about us, then they talked to us a little bit, then they talked to us a little bit more, then we finally set up a meeting, and then the second meeting, and then now we're doing their plan for them. So you see how all that process led up to that? I mean, that was what? Was that 4 or 5 months maybe? It was 4 or 5 months before I sat down in their home with them at their kitchen table and started solving issues. And then at that, I knew, just from my experience, I just wanted them to sleep on it all of it. So I didn't even say anything what to do the first meeting. I said, just take this information, sleep on it. If you still feel it's the good thing to do, then let's meet next week sometime and you let me know. So that's the way I am. I don't want any pressure. I don't like it, and I know people don't like it. Okay? So building trust, though, is kind of an art. And whether you're retail sales or whether you have your own business, building that trust is so critical. And people today, I think it's doubly so. So build trust by bringing value. And I'm sure everybody feels they bring value to the customer. Customers, through the work you do. And so what do? We go beyond the initials. One of the things we do to follow up with our initial meetings, whether we sell them or not, is we want to follow up with a thank you card or a thank you letter. Thank you for coming in, or thank you for allowing us to meet with you, and so forth. If they become a client, we put them on our birthday mailing list so they get a birthday card. We send out Thanksgiving cards. We send out Christmas cards, 4th of July, all the main holidays. We want to send a card out and just let people know, hey, thank you for your business. Thank you, thank you, thank you, all year long. Keeps coming. Be relationship oriented. That's what it is, not just sales oriented. When you take the time to send somebody a nice card, by the way, how many nice cards do you get in the mail? I mean, really nice, professional card, beautiful picture on it. We sign them. We sign them by hand, all of them. And how many of those do you get a year? I don't think I get any. Maybe you guys do, but I don't think I get any. My own guy that has my car and homeowners insurance doesn't even send me a card. Be relationship oriented. You know what? The more relationship oriented you are, the bigger the sales you'll get. How about that? Wouldn't everybody like to have a bigger sale than what they had last year? You know, over the years, I see these sales in our business keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think it's that right there is why. People have grown to trust Schlappi Financial Group. They've grown to trust me. They know that I bring something fairly unique in the marketplace. I'm not bringing a canned speech. Every plan we do is very customized. I'm sure it probably was the same way with the printing stuff. Everything's got to be done just for them. So anyway, and another thing you can do is invest in a client management database system. Now, I don't know if you've done this or not. I know this costs money. You could possibly do it yourself, I guess, with the various software programs that are out there, but a client database system was one of the best things we ever did. We did that years ago, and that's what makes it easy for my secretary, Ruthie, to send out birthday cards and letters and all kinds of stuff, keep track of people, and we even send out some for wedding anniversaries. When's the last time you got a wedding anniversary reminder, huh? The guys really like that, by the way. So, invest in a database system. If you're going to be in business, you better put your whole foot into it. You better put the whole deal into it because there's going to be a lot of reasons to quit. But I really wasn't interested in any of those reasons. I wanted to succeed. And you can succeed too. It's not going to be easy. because there's lots of competition, there's lots of stuff out there in the world, but you know what? You can carve out. There's enough people to go around for everybody. Has always been my philosophy. There's always enough business for everybody, and I kind of regret it hearing it when people try to corner the market and they want to pretend they're the only solution in town, you know. And in our industry, we have the same deal. We have these people that come along from time to time, you know, and they're typically promoting a buy term and invest a difference philosophy, and that's their solution to everything. But of course, it's not. And so, but there's enough customers, there's enough people that need solutions that there's plenty to go around for everyone. So then next thing, communicate several times a year. I already told you about that, birthday cards and so forth. So now this is pretty interesting. Persistence. What do you do if your business slows down or changes? Okay, so has anybody had a slowdown in their business? You know, maybe even the chambers had a slowdown. Okay, we don't probably have the same number of business startups that we had prior to 2008. So the whole world's kind of changed gears here, and I suppose they're just a little bit worried about what the world's bringing. And I think if we all start thinking about how we can benefit ourselves and our families and our clients, I think maybe we could turn that thing back around and we could get back to, because remember, business used to be humming all over the place. Lots of new businesses starting all the time, coming and going, whatever, and now you just see empty buildings row after row. So there's been a tremendous loss of what opportunities are available in this country. So rather than be unemployed or you know, not able to find the job you want, maybe we're forgetting where remember there was an old book, it said there's acres of diamonds right there in your backyard. Acres of diamonds. It was a great old book. I wish I could remember the guy's name. It was a motivational speech that he gave about that. He says there's plenty of things to do. There's ways to make money right here in our own neighborhood, in our own community. There's ways to make money. So persistence. So what does that mean? It just means don't give up. Okay? When the times are tough, you don't give up. It's easy to quit when the times get tough. Okay? But how many times have we heard if we can just get over that next hump, then something good's going to happen? Well, I'm here to tell you, I've gotten over many of those humps, and there was something very good on the other side of that mountain. Oh boy, you know, I can remember saying if I could just make, I think it was 30,000 or something like that. This was 1980. I was telling Ruthie, I said 83. Well, if I could just make this, I think we could be in pretty good shape. Well, you know, and then pretty soon it's another one. Well, if we could just make 40, I could be happy. If we could just make 50, we'd be doing great. If we just made 75, boy, I know that would be great. Well, pretty soon it was 100. Pretty soon it was 150. So it just keeps on going. And the more you climb those mountains, the more excitement you're going to get. You know, but if you quit, then you're not being persistent. Persistent people, persistent business owners particularly, have to keep going. Stay focused, revisit your goals and mission statement. Don't let anybody, or, you know, how many times have you had a client, maybe you met somebody and they kind of bummed you out? It was really, I mean, you felt like you didn't know nothing when you got done talking to them. They knew everything. And I'm going, whoa. You know what? Forget them and move on. Be persistent. Stay focused on your goals. Okay? Keep a balance. It's easy to get bogged down. You know, it's easy to work 7 days a week if you want to. It's easy. Once you have your own business and you kind of start seeing some things happening and you enjoy it, and next thing you know, you're making some good money. But, you know, you got to keep a balance. Sometimes you just stop what you're doing, and sometimes we just go down to the Swope Park Zoo. We haven't done that for a while, so it's probably due. You ever gone down to the zoo during the day? It's a fun place. Or the Nelson Art Gallery. Go out to dinner, nice place. Not just down the street. Persistence. There's going to be times when people get you down, and there's going to be times when people pump you up. And that's a great time, but they're both going to happen. Be persistent to keep going. How's my time, by the way? 9:30. When are we quitting? Okay. So use proper time management, and there's my tool right there. So, now, everybody's different, aren't we? We're all a little different. Now, I could sit down at the library, as librarians know from years gone by. I could go up there and I could spend all day there because I just love learning about stuff. Or I do it I got my own library in the house now. That was one of the advantages of moving to Blue Springs, is the house had a library built into it. So it's easy to waste time. Yet you think you're having fun and you're enjoying it, and that's okay. There's some allocation for that. We have to have fun time. But it's got to be, one guy told me one time, he said, Bruce, make sure you work 8 hours and you sleep 8 hours. Just make sure they're not the same. So, pretty simple advice. Work 8 hours, sleep 8 hours. Just make sure they're not the same 8 hours. So, but fortunately, I came from a family where hard work was appreciated, and Grandpa was very successful at the old Armco steel mill down in Kansas City, and he was a leader in the production down there. So, I had a great example in Grandpa. In fact, we grew up mainly with my grandparents. So, but you know what? You don't let stuff get you down. Okay, so I grew up in a broken home, big deal. I pretty soon figured out, you know what? It was sad on the one hand, but I also figured, you know what? We better go forward, because you know, letting stuff get us down can get you down pretty quick. But the happiness of success is so much better than looking backwards. I don't want to look backwards. I want to only look forwards. Every time I look back at when we first started, it gets a little scary. I go, holy cow, how did we live? How did we make it? I don't know. I'm just thankful where we're at now. And mostly how we got to where we're at today is the hard work, the persistence, learning how to work with people, meeting people's needs, and helping them solve their problems. So, ask questions is another idea. Remind yourself of why you are in business. Boy, don't we all put this on the back burner? Why do I work for the Chamber of Commerce? Well, why do I work anywhere? Bank 21, whatever. Because I want to do a good job, I hope, is your answer. I want to be good at what I do. Do you ever think about that? You know, we get busy, we hear all the junk going on in the world. Do we ever just remind ourselves, hey, I want to be great at what I do. I want to just be good. I want to be great. I want to be really, really good at what I do. Whether I'm working for an employer, which I had days of doing that, and successful in those endeavors. You know, at one time in my life, I remember being the #1 agent for another insurance company, and that was wonderful. It was super. Boy, to work hard, you know, because you see people, pretty soon they get worn out. They forget to be persistent. They're not putting their whole heart into it, and what happens? Man, the whole darn thing starts to come down on them, and they're not consistent producers. I saw that particularly when I was what they call a staff manager. So I would go out and I'd work with each agent for a week or so, and you could just see, and then we'd write a lot of business for each one of them, and they'd have a great week. And I thought, why don't they get this? Why don't they go forward? It's so much more fun to be successful than to look back or to let things tear you down. It's easy to do, but being persistent is worth it. That's hard to do sometimes. But you know what? Kind of really, once you get it in your system, you don't really want to get off of that. Okay, remind yourself why you're in business. Write down 3 reasons why you're in business. Have you ever thought about that? 3 simple, basic reasons why you're in business. Maybe it's, I like being independent. Maybe it's, I just want to have the flexibility to work when I want to work, and the flexibility to do things for my family, or take vacation, or this or that, whatever it is. But for me, it was like being independent. I wanted to be independent and free to make my own recommendations based upon my own research, my own study for my clients. So think about it, maybe just 3 simple reasons. And I don't think you have to be self-employed necessarily to apply these. I think this could be, working for someone else as well. Maybe this is something we should teach in school. It's 3 reasons why I want to be the best employee I can be. You know, there's a big difference when you end up at work and you're excited versus, you know, boy, I hate going in here. And I've had a job like that when I was, you know, a teenager, but, you know, I'm excited every morning. I don't need any motivation to get up at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock whenever I get up. I don't need any motivation whatsoever to go down and start working for my clients today. It's just automatic. And I love it. Okay. And I think you will too, and I think probably most everybody does. That's why you're here today, is you're trying to add more to what you do. You're trying to add more value. So congratulations on being here. It's too bad this room isn't full. How many other businesses, Laura, in Blue Springs would benefit from just getting their batteries just a little bit charged today instead of listening to some bad news somewhere? So I can accept failure. Everyone fails at something. But I can't accept not trying. Michael Jordan said that. Now, he was a great basketball player, as most of you know, from the 1980s. I can accept failure. Has anybody here besides me failed at a few things in their life? You know, I always look around. No, I shouldn't do this, but I do it. I look around and I think, holy cow, they are smart. I'll think of somebody and I'll see what they're doing and go, man, they are smart. Why didn't I think of that? Or, you know, boy, they're so talented. I mean, you know, at church, you know, you got the guys who can sing. I mean, they can sing so beautifully. And I go, boy, I wish I could do that. Next thing you know, you can go, man, what is my talent? Well, I figured out how to make a 6-figure income. And the first one doesn't start with a 1. I figured out how to do good with what talent God has given me. Now, I don't have all the talents that a lot of these other people have, and boy, they seem to be multi-talented, but you know what? We all have something we can work with. I can't accept not trying. I guess that's kind of my motto, too. So maybe I'm not the A+ 4.0 student, bright flight, full ride scholarship type person. I wasn't. But I got 1,000 books I've read on financial planning in my library. 1,000. I quit counting after a while. I wore the library out. 1,000. I've met masters of business administration, MBAs, etc., that haven't read that much. Nowhere near that much. So we have to use what God put in your hand. Isn't that what he told Moses? Take the rod. That's what you got. That's what we're working with today. Can we think? Can we do something on our own to go forward? Yes. The answer is yes, without question. We can push that ball. Okay, so productivity. We're in business. We have to be productive, don't we? Sometimes half the battle is just surviving. You know, when you look around, like I said, you can see all these successful people and you think, holy mackerel, how can I compete with them? I don't know. I'm not going to look at them. I'm going to do what I can do today. Sometimes half the battle is just surviving. I've been there and I've done it. And I'm telling you, if you just survive, that's half the battle. Eventually, your word gets out there, your name gets out there, people know who you are, they start referring people to you, and you start meeting people and you begin to learn how to say what you do and you are able to solve problems. So, one of the things I like to think about, I remember these old movies. Remember they were made in the 50s, I think, 40s and the 50s. There was one about the French Foreign Legion one time I remember watching as a kid. There's no rescue coming for the French Foreign Legion in the 1800s. Remember, they were over there in the Sahara Desert, and they patrol around the Sahara Desert, they were basically the policemen, if you will, of that whole northern African continent. And there's no rescue coming, guys. So they had a little motto. You remember what the motto was for the French Foreign Legion? It's amazing how little history is taught anymore. I just absolutely blows me away, because it's so important to know where we came from so that we don't end up going back there. It said, the French Foreign Legion said, our motto is march or die. If you don't march, you're going to be captured and you're going to be killed. I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore. Hey, let's don't repeat that history. You are the rescue. Today, you've got solutions for your clients, and you're the best person for that job. Do we believe that? Productivity. People, productivity. Attitudes and actions. Better to act and fail than not to act and flounder. I will act now. Have you ever read, has anybody ever heard of Og Mandino? Well, of course you guys have. He just happens to be one of the greatest writers in modern history. Og Mandino. Why don't we talk about him in high school? One of the most inspiring, uplifting, motivating books I've ever read in my life, Norman Vincent Peale. Anybody know who he is? He's an old-time writer of mostly Christian motivation type stuff. The Greatest Salesman in the World. I read this book back in 1990, and along with many other books, tapes, videos, etc. He said, I'll act now. Og Mandino, this guy went on to write some fabulous books. He was super successful. But you know what he was before he did all that? He's got a tremendous testimony. He was a derelict. He was living on the streets. Lost his way, lost everything along with it. See what happens when we take our mind off of being productive, being helpful to people, being persistent. When you lose those things in life, God only knows where you're headed. For him, it was living on the streets, being in drugs, etc., alcohol, and I think he lived in Cincinnati. And he's ready to blow his head off one day. And things happened. He got back on it, got his focus back. Next thing you know, this guy goes from being a high school dropout to writing some of the most popular books in the whole world. Og Mandino, great author, The Greatest Salesman in the World. This book, I dare you to read it but not cry. By the end of the book, I'm crying. I go, man, this guy had something, and I want it. What do you want today? You want to be productive? Do something to help yourself be more productive. Don't watch the news, because I guarantee you that's not going to help you. But this guy sure will. What are we doing to be more successful? Write down your plan. And before I go to the end, I want to just read you something here from this book. Only action determines my value in the midst of the marketplace. Now remember, this guy was living on the street, drug head, nowhere to go. Only action determines my value in the marketplace. And to multiply my value, I will multiply my actions. I will walk where failures fear to walk. Remember, this man has nothing to offer. I will work when failure seeks rest. I will talk when the failure remains silent. I will call on 10 who can buy my goods while the failure makes grand plans to call but one. I will say it is done before the failure says it is too late. I will act now. What will you do this week to reach out to your clients? They're waiting for you. They've got needs. The whole world's not going to hell, I'm telling you. God will take care of all that. It's a good reminder to let God take care of the world. So, one of the things God said in His Bible is consider the ant. So let's take a look at him. You ever think about an ant? You ever remember reading about those in grade school? What they can do and so forth? Well, if you haven't, go to the library. They've got plenty of books on it. Ruthie just looked up something for me. An ant can lift 50 times his weight or more. It's almost unlimited. That's equivalent to a person picking up a car. Easily. No strain. Just pick it right up and walk up down the, ants go the equivalent miles to pick up their food and bring it back. The ant is an incredible
little thing. I mean, he gets the job done. So he's productive. Are we productive? Attitudes and actions, remember? If we've got the right attitude, pretty soon our actions are falling right in line. Better to act and fail than not to act. So, what are we going to do to get to be more successful? Write down your plan. How many times have we heard that, and yet we don't do it? You know what? You can use all your iPads and your computers that you want to, but when my fingers are making those words, my brain is right there on that paper, and I don't know what it is, but I think it's the eye-hand thing. It's the way God made us. When I'm writing things down, how many times have I written plans down, and then lo and behold, we look back a year later and go, holy cow, we did that. We did that, Ricky. How many times have we said, well, let's try to see this number of people and see this number of plans come in and see this kind of revenue generated from our business. How many times have we written that down, and lo and behold, we look back, we get busy. Next thing you know, you're so busy being productive and active and doing the things you can do now. You're acting now on the things that came out of your brain, and you wrote them down with your own hand. And next thing you know, it's the end of the year, and you look back, hey, what's this? Oh, that's that notebook we wrote on the way home to see Grandma and Grandpa. Those are all our notes. Oh, let's look at that. Holy cow, we did it. In fact, we did more. Setting our productivity goals. Consider the ant. What's the ant do? He's gathering in the summer because he knows the winter's coming. Ants don't go out in the wintertime. It's too cold. Let's write down our plans. Let's know where we're going. Let's at least start getting something on paper that says, this is what I want to do before the end of the year. What have we got? We're in October, right? End of October. November, December. We only got 2 months left, but you'd be surprised. Sometimes my best sale came in. One of my big sales came on December 28th. Right out of the blue. Isn't that great? You never know. But you know what? We're planting seeds all the time. Failure. Boy, I remember a teacher one time giving me an F on one of my papers. Boy, I'm telling you what, that made me mad. Oh, I was mad. Because I kind of halfway studied for that. And I go, how could you possibly give me that? So, what we should do is we should get good training and good information. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it was probably my fault, I'm sure. But, boy, I just didn't like getting that red F on my paper. And you know what? Failure's not an option. These gentlemen can't give an F to the flight crew of the Apollo 13. That wasn't going to work. That's not a solution. In preparation for the filming of Apollo 13, if you remember the story, Jerry Bostick, this guy right here, the young guy, flight dynamics officer for the real Apollo 13, was asked, what are the people in mission control really like? Weren't there times when everybody, or at least a few people, just panicked? Now remember, this is the Apollo mission that blew up in space, so they had an explosion on the ship, and of course, they're way up there in space, so it was quite. Did everybody see that movie by any chance? If you haven't ever saw that movie, Apollo 13, it is excellent. His answer was no. When bad things happened, we just calmly laid out the options, and failure was not one of them. Boy, don't you know, I wish that teacher would have, instead of using that stinking red pencil, had said, you know what, Bruce, I think you can do better than this. So, in due time, I did. I went from a C and D student to an A and B student by the time I graduated. I just wish somebody would have told me earlier on a little bit more about how to study and prepare and do the things I need to do. Instead of giving me that red F. We never panicked and we never gave up on finding a solution. That's where we want to live. That's what we need to do every day. Nobody wants to get a red F for the day. It doesn't solve anything. It doesn't push anybody higher. What does a red F do to people? It destroys their confidence. It should not be allowed to be given in our school system, if you want my humble opinion. It should never be allowed to be given. It should be, you know what? You're better than this. You can do better than this. We're going to pair you up with someone that's going to help you get focused and solve that problem. Failure is not an option. That's why it's got to be in our business or in our job, in our career. We're going to simply look at all their focus. Look how focused they are. There's what, 3 or 4 astronauts in that Apollo? They're dead unless these guys can come up with a solution. If you haven't seen the movie, you ought to go get it because they were very frantically working to make that solution happen. It was a great movie, based on true story. So a few words about success. Don't compare yourself with the super successful, but strive to be successful. You get that? Because there's always somebody out there that's just doing 1,000 times more than you're doing. And you know what? There's many reasons for that, whatever. What can we do? What can I do today to be successful? Be confident and passionate about your products and services. That's where it starts. You know, if we're passionate and confident in what we do, it just rolls right off of you. I mean, you're radiating, you know, that you've got what the client needs. Now, not everybody is gonna partake of that. I know that. I understand. But more often than not, people can sense your devotion to what you do. You ever been to a doctor's office? Did you ever tell when the doctor really cared about you? I remember one time I was in the doctor's office. And the drug salesmen were out in the lobby. I might have been for Ruby, I can't remember. I could tell the doctor was just nervous as a wet hen. He wanted to get out there and talk to those drug salesmen. And I thought, man, he's just blowing us off as fast as he can. And I thought, you know what? Well, I've never been back to him since. If you can't be devoted to me for your 3 minutes that you allot me, that has to do with my very health to live and work from day to day, I don't need that kind of person working on me. Are we devoted to what we're doing? Are we devoted to our clients? I think we probably are. Are we devoted to our jobs, our careers? Devotion takes us a long ways down the road to success. And success rarely happens overnight. Is this our last screen? So, for 30 years, we've been trying to figure out success. And I think we just kind of keep coming back to it and keep looking at it and keep thinking about it and applying principles in our life. But you know what? Over the years, the successes have gotten bigger and bigger. And you know what? Even if they just stay the same, you know what? At least we're working, we're successful, we have our family, we have our home, we have food, we have all the necessities of life. We're living better than half of the planet is living, if you think about it. So success is a long-term deal. It's a long-term commitment. And you can't let the people who would try to give you the red F bog you down and destroy you. Because there's those people out there. But there's a whole lot of people that want to give you an A+. They want to say, you know what, you really helped me. And boy, isn't it wonderful when a client tells you, this is exactly what I needed. So thank you for coming today. And if you got any questions, you know, something that kind of popped in your mind, I'd be happy to try to give a couple of comments. If anybody has a question. Are we done? Okay. Well, thank you for coming. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Bruce.
You're welcome.
A couple of announcements I want to make. The December Power Hour is changed. We're still going to do the same topic, the video for your website or for your business, but the presenters changed. So check out the newsletters as they come out on the web for more details on that. Jeremiah is actually going to present it, and we'll put a full description out for you in the near future. Todd Long is presenting the November session on Phase 4 leadership. On November 13th is our annual retreat for the Chamber of Commerce, and we look for Chamber member involvement in order to be able to provide what our members are asking. This is your chance throughout the year to give us some feedback and get involved and engaged. So there's flyers on the table if you want to grab one. Talk to your friends and other people that you know are involved with the chamber. It's an all-day event for $25. Breakfast and lunch are included if you're interested in participating in that. And also the Business of the Year award, we're accepting applications. If you know someone with a great business, if you have a great business, you can fill an application or fill out one on behalf of someone else. You know what the deadline is for this? November 14th. November 14th. And you can find these in the chamber office and on the website. All right. Once again, I want to thank Bruce and Ruth for coming and giving us some information on sales today, and I hope to see you all soon. Go over it.